Hi everybody, welcome back to Basic Build, and this is the barn build, and this is part 7. Now before I do any overviews or anything else, a couple of little things. First thing, you may have noticed a new little section on the intro. I know it flashed past quick, but you can freeze frame it and go back to it. It's just a conversion chart that I've made up. A simple reason, I've been having lots and lots of questions about the thickness of the balsa wood. Now I've done this conversion chart. It is very straightforward. It's it's inches, metric, so you've got the metric and the inch variation, and the end column is just 1/35 scale, so that them two items are both the same size, but then I've converted it down to 1/35 scale, just so when you're buying your balsa wood you can get as close to what I'm using as you possibly can. The reason being, mine is slightly different. A quick story: my local hobby shop has been running for years and years and years. When I went in there and I saw the balsa wood, and it was at I think about 1970 prices. It was at stupid prices, and I spent a lot of money. I came out with literally an armful of balsa wood. I think I spent about £70–80 because the prices were so stupid. And of course I've got a personal feeling that it's all imperial, and it's just sort of going back into metric, just that slight difference. So that's what the chart's there for, just to give you a guide on what sizes you should be using. Because like I say, the metric sizes, a lot of people are just saying I can only get metric, and it's not quite the same. Secret being, you're going to have to get as close as you can to their measurements. Also, in my defense, I do use a lot of the sheet material, and I do actually cut it down with a strip cutter, so the sizes are going to vary slightly there as well. To make up different bits and pieces, we just turn the wood and cut a different way to get what I require to do my builds. So that's just there to help you. I hope that will help you out a little bit. Now, second thing, last time we had a few complaints, well, not actually complaints, but people were telling me I was very quiet, which is very, very unusual because I'm not a quiet person. But I've retweaked the microphone. Hopefully this is all coming through nice, loud and clear. We're also on a new camera, so hopefully that will improve what you actually can see. And that's about it. That's the two little things that I wanted just to pick up straight away. Now back to the build. What we will be doing, we'll do a quick little overview of what we did. Well, what we did last time. Well, what we did last time was we did the stairs. We just bring them into shot there. Quite happy with that. They're gonna need weathering, i.e. a little bit of slime and grime on it, a little bit of moss, and just to make look like they're old. Now this video we're gonna be getting tiled in. We're gonna get this, well, not tiled, slated in, should I say, because I'm gonna use the little slates on this because I do love them little slates for some strange reason. So we're going to get all the back slated in, the front as well. May even push it on to the lead work. It depends. I'm not promising that on this video because I do say things and I just run out of time. So that's what we will be doing. I'm bumbling my words there. Also, before I get on with the slates and getting them done, I'm going to give the inside a black wash because I didn't get that done last time because of the rebuild. So I'm going to give that a 50-50 wash, 50% of the dipping wash black and 50% of my thinners. I'll give that all a coat and get that done because it will be a little bit difficult later on trying to get through or get under and round. Another thing, I've started on building the items that are actually going to go in this build, and the first little one, if you've been on Facebook you probably would have seen it. It's the little generator. This is going on the outside, will be connected up with cables, and we're going to have work lights, hopefully, cross fingers, that actually work. So I'm not going to bore you to death with the kits, what I'm doing. If you want to see the logs on the builds, go across to Simon Kemp's models. I will be putting them up there. Also, I will be putting pictures on the Facebook page as I go along as well. So we're going to remove that. Enough of that. So we'll stick you on pause, we'll get set up, and we'll get sorted, and we'll get this roof done. Kick off with, we'll start with the battens. Now I've cut all my battens. I used a piece of sheet material which was 1.45 thick, and I cut strips off at 1.5. I can't really go any smaller than that. The simple reason is balsa wood, it does start to tend, especially when you're using a cutter, it's got a tendency of twisting and warping and messing about. So that's what I've cut the battens to. I've cut two different lengths. I've cut some short ones for the front, and the longer ones, these will actually go from side to side with no problems at all. I'm going to be trimming them off a little bit actually. Now that's the measurements of the battens. I've already pre-washed them just to save a little bit of time. I will give them probably a coat of black when I've finished, but we'll see, because the simple reason is we're not really going to see a great deal of this, only from the front and the underside. So I'm going to be using super glue this time. It's quicker because you can stick your battens down extremely quick, and we can get them done reasonably fast. Also, because you're not going to see the underneath of the tile, not from this side anyway, so we don't need to use the PVA with the black paint mixed in, because we're not going to see the actual battens from this side. We probably will be using the PVA on the front because there is battens exposed, but when we get to that side we'll run through that anyway. So I've got the tiles, got the glue, got the battens. I'll move you up and we'll get started on the bottom course. Okay, first batten, the most important batten. I've set my gauges up for 10mm. Now I'm going to come off the edge, the front edge of the fascia, and mark up 10mm. Now I'm going to mark this up all the way along on each one. I know it's a bit of a pain in the neck, but we need this batten, this first batten, to be dead straight, because this is the batten we'll be working off. What I'll be doing next, I'll mark all that all the way along at 10mm, and then I'm going to be gluing the batten to the top of that mark, so the batten sits under it. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back to you. First batten in, nice and straight, quite happy with that. Move on to the second batten. Now the second batten is called a tilt lath, and this actually runs from end to end, just at the bottom near the fascia, and it does exactly what it says. It stops the tiles from tilting, dropping downwards. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to run that all the way along that edge and glue it in all the way through. And another thing, if you are gluing these in and you've got a little bit of deviation in your joists, make sure you push your battens down, because it will give that uneven effect when you're tiling, which is what you get in a real roof, you know, so that undulation, shall I say, as we go along. So I'm going to glue this one in, and back with you in a second. Tilt lath being glued on, and now we move on to putting the rest of the battens on. A couple of different methods you can use. It's totally up to you which way you actually go. You can actually use one of your tiles, turn it on its edge, like so. You put 3 or 4 in, and then you can use that as your gauge and put your batten to it, glue it, then take the tiles out. That's the first way. The second way is to actually cut a piece of balsa the same width as your tile, like so, and you can just lay that in if you don't want to lay your tiles in, and use that and glue along that edge. My preferred method is I actually cut, well, I get a piece of balsa wood the same width as the tile and the batten. So all I do is just lay that in there like so. I'll get that round the right way, like so, and then with a pencil we just mark up along the top all the way through. I shall do this one, it will save me coming back to it. So it's just a matter of going all the way along like so. Now I've got my pencil marks, and now I just do exactly the same as what I did with the bottom batten. Simple reasons I like doing it that way is because I can then keep my eye on the width, and if it does drop down I can just nudge it up a little bit. So it'll be exactly the same. Find the centre mark, a little bit of glue, and then just work our way along on each batten. Now I'll get that one batten glued in, I'll come back and have a little look, and yes, I will get that coat of wash on that before I go any further, but I will get that one glued in, then I'll come back to you just so you can have a quick look, and then we'll move on. That batten's glued in and done with. Now it's a very simple process. I just keep using my piece of timber, placing it in and just marking along, and I will do that all the way to the top, gluing my battens as I go. Now I won't bore you by keep coming back. I'm going to go right to the top and then I shall come back to see you, but I will give this inside here a quick wash before I go any further. So I shall see you at the top. Completed right to the top. So all this side now has been battened out, and we're going to turn our attention, if I can turn this around without wrecking everything, we're going to turn our attention to the front, and I'm going to start off no different. I'm going to measure up my 10mm. I've already done my marks, so I shall put a small batten in here, a batten along the top of the fascia as the tilt lath, and then I shall continue up exactly the same way as I've done the back. I will put them two bits in, then I will come back to you and we'll have a little look and we'll go from there. Now I did say I'd come back when I got these couple of pieces on, but I just got sort of carried away and carried on up. So all I'm doing is exactly the same as what I did on the back. I'm just using my gauge and going up, but I'm going right the way across. When I take my big hand out of the way, I'm doing it right the way across like so, so I can keep my battens level, so when I actually come to the top we can keep them all nice and evenly spaced up. I'm going to carry on right the way through up to the top. Also what I'm doing, I'm just staggering the ends of the battens just to follow the shape of the hole. I'm just going to leave them cut off nice and neat as this is a cutout, and that's it. So I'll see you when I get to the top. Yeah, the battens are all complete on both sides, which is brilliant news. So what we're going to do now, I will swing this right the way round because we'll start on the back and we'll start the tiling. So I'm going to put you on pause. I shall be back in a second. I shall get set up and we'll get on with the tiling. Now there's no big secret over the tiling. I'm going to be using the PVA mixed down with a little bit of black just to make that darker colour. I'm using PVA because it gives you just a little bit more time for positioning these extremely tiny, I get them in a pair of tweezers, these extremely tiny slates. And what I'll be doing, I'll be starting from this end and I'll do the bottom course all the way through. Hopefully it should work out tiles, I'm hoping. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get on and we're just going to run a little bit of glue along that edge and along that edge, and very simply just put the tiles on one at a time. It does get easier as you go along. Just follow the batten like so. I never cleaned these ones up. Ooh, naughty time. So that's what I'm going to do all the way through and try and keep them as roughly as level as I possibly can. Now I will say before anyone says, oh, you're supposed to do a starter tile. Normally in real life you would do a starter tile which would be turned sideways at the bottom just to double up, but I don't really think it's necessary, not on what we're doing here, because it's not actually going to take any water. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to carry on now. I'm going to get that first course in. When I get that first course in, I'll come back to you and we'll move on to the next course, because it's just slightly different because we've got some cuts to do on that one. Now first course is on, and it did actually just work full tiles. Just got that to get the sanding stick and just take a fraction off the end just to get that fitted in, but that is brilliant. Now the second course, we're going to have to start with a half like so, and we're going to do no different. We're going to carry that all the way through and put half in this end, then keep going up course at a time. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to bore you by showing you every course. I'm going to get on and I'm going to get this side completed, and then I'll come back to you when I finished it. One side is now complete. Now there is one course to be put on the top, but I won't be doing that until we actually start on the actual ridge, and that will be a little bit later. So now the back's all complete and I think it looks pretty cool. I'm quite happy with that. We're going to move round to the front. Now we're going to do the front no different to the way we've done the back, except we're not going to put as many tiles on it. We're still going to start off the same way as what we did at the back, a full tile both sides, and then I'm slowly going to take them up and just stagger them back, because I do want quite a bit of the woodwork and that showing. So I'm going to get on with that, and once I get so far I will drop back and let you have a good little look. Now what I'm trying to do is just stagger these tiles back uniform but randomly, so that's what I'm trying to achieve. Now I've got to this sort of level here, I'm going to start now pulling them more and more over. I want to get the tiles up, try and get them round in a bit of a circle at the top here. So I'm going to carry on, and I'll pop back in a little while. I've got as far as I can with the tiles. Now I need now to actually get this top course on, just to actually get this gap closed up. So I'm going to turn my attention now to this ridge. So first things first, I've cut a piece of timber which is 5mm by 3mm, and we're going to start off by getting that glued right the way across the top, and I'm going to get it stained down. Now that will give me the right distance to actually get another tile on, so the tile will be glued on the edge of that timber, and it will give me the right setting to finish that last course. There is going to be a double course on there. There's going to be a full one and a half one, but first things first, I'll get that glued on, I'll get that stained, I'll get a few tiles on, and then I'll come back to you and you can have a little look. Now I have run this top course in right the way through, which has closed this gap up nicely. I've also done exactly the same on the back, put the last course on to bring it up to the ridge height. I'll put that back there. Now what we need to do is, because that's a full tile and it looks a bit strange, so what we need to do now is put it's going to be a half tile, just to bring it up and make it look right. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this distance here. I'm going to transfer that distance onto there, just a couple of marks along, draw a straight line right the way through, and then I'm just going to glue all the bits and pieces on that. I'm not going to be too fussed about cutting them down, for the simple reason is once they're all dry I'm going to get a sanding stick and we'll take that down all nice and level, ready to accept the ridge. And the ridge is going to be just a piece of, well, this is sprue actually, and it drops on the floor, we've lost it, but we're going to be putting a piece of sprue. There's another bit. We're just going to glue that onto the top, and then we're going to use the foil to make our lead work to run all the way through the top there. So I'm going to get on and get that half course done, and then I'll come back to you. The half course has all now been glued in, front and the back. I've done that all the way through, as you can see. And also what I've done, I've taken my sanding stick and just gone along the edge. You can probably see, just gone along the top there, just to take off, because I've used all the broken bits and pieces I had left over instead of cutting up full tiles. And I've just given that a quick few passes with the sanding stick just to clean it up. Now, all we need to do now is, on the top of that, we need to create like a half circle. What I'm going to be using is some 3mm round styrene, and all I'm going to be doing is gluing that right the way along that top edge. I'll keep hold of it because it will roll off. So I'm going to be gluing a couple of pieces all the way along that top edge down there, and once that's dry we can use that then to form our foil lead work over the top of it. So I shall now get on with that and get that fitted, and then when I come back we'll get on and get some lead work done. This little piece has been glued in all the way across the top, which is brilliant stuff, and now we can move on. Now I've already started making my lead flashing up, but I will show you how I'm doing it, and this will just be sitting right over the top like so, but I shall run through how to make it with you. So we're going to need quite a few pieces for the top, and also we're going to need quite a few pieces to actually go down the side here, from the top to the bottom. Now I'll put you on pause, and what I shall do is go down to the bench and I'll just run quickly through with you how I'm making my lead flashing up. Now, the lead flashing, for those who have never seen me make the lead flashing, what I actually use is the fast food containers. We just cut them up and cut them into squares, and we actually just use that, flatten it out with a piece of wood or something, get rid of the ridges, and you end up with a piece of foil like that, nice and shiny. Now, I don't know if people can remember, quite a long time ago I actually made myself a little jig up to form up exactly the same thing, lead flashing for the actual top. Now if I can find a piece, yes I can, and that's the shape that we actually want. It's, you want a V like so, and with the half circle at the top, and it's very easy to do. Now I made a little jig to do it. All this is a bit of 2.5 styrene, and it's glued just on the edge of a piece of timber. Simple as that. Then all we do is we actually use that to actually form up our ridge, which is very easily done, like so. I'm going to have to pick this up in a second, and all we do is just roll that round like so, flatten it down, and there we've got our actual shape of the lead flashing. Now I'm cutting this to 7-inch, which is 5.8 in millimeters, and I've already got this marked up. As you can see here, I've got it already marked up, and it's very simple, putting your ruler across, drawing a line from mark to mark like so. I always use a pencil because it doesn't cut it but just marks it, and it's just a matter of then getting your scissors, or if you want to do it with a scalpel or whatever is totally up to you. Then we just cut along that line. I like using the big scissors because they seem to be a little bit more accurate, and that's how we make up our roof piece. Nothing complicated, nothing too mad. Now to actually form up the lead for the sides. Now all I've done for the lead for the sides is I've just used foil again, but what I've done is I've just made an L, and that's 7-inch as well, so that's 5.8 5.08mm, and I use the same jig. All I do is, that's a little bit, but all I do is place that against that edge, and I know I've got the 7-inch, so exactly the same. Use your ruler just to mark along that mark, and it gets it all nice and level. A little bit out there. Yeah, see, nothing ever goes right. There we go. So just use your pencil, same again, mark it, then just, like I say, just form that up onto the line that you've got. You can use a ruler. I normally just do it in my fingers, lay it against the ruler, then just run your finger along to actually form up that 7-inch lip, and that then will sit on the roof. You can see that. That's going to sit now on the roof, that part, and this part's going to sit up the wall. Then we'll just fold it over and trim it back, so it just sits nice and neatly underneath the copings at the end. So what I should do now is, now you're just seeing the way I make them up, we'll go up and we'll start fitting a few. Now get some of this lead fitted. Now as we form this up on the little jig, and the piece of styrene that was on there was 2.5, and we're actually using, on the top here is 3mm. When you actually come to put this on, you'll find it will literally just clip over like so. Now the way I work it is, I put one piece on, I use the end of my pencil with a little rubber on, and I make sure it's all nice and flat like so on both sides. Then I just pop it off, a little bit of super glue along there, and do exactly the same. Pop it back on and just use the rubber just to press it all down and make sure it's all touching the roof right the way through. It's as simple as that. Then your next piece just clips on. Your second piece will just clip onto there like so, and do exactly the same thing with your pencil. Rub that down, not too hard, but I find that the pencil will allow it to take the shape, the rubber will allow the foil to take the shape but not break your tiles or anything like that. And it's a simple step, just keep gluing them down until you get to the end. As easy as that. Now I'm going to get on and get this glued because it's rather difficult with the camera here to actually do it. So I'm going to get them glued, and then I'll come back and we'll get started on the flashing down the sides. All that lead flashing at the top has now been glued on all the way through, and as you can see, if we take it round, looks pretty good actually. I'm quite happy with that. Now we've got the capping done. Now let's turn our attention to these sides. Now we've already formed up our foil with the little 7-inch overhang, and it's exactly the same as what we do on the top. All we do is we bring it down to the bottom, we glue it all the way along and push that edge, and then this edge that's sticking up, we'll actually just trim that back and just fold it over on the inside there, nothing too complicated. And then the capping that we run up on the top of that will sit over the top and cover it all. So I'm going to get on with that and get that all glued in, but I will come back to you before I trim it up. So I'm just going to start gluing this on this side, that side, because I've got 4 sides to do. So I'll get all that done and then I'll come back to you. Now all the flashing's being glued on all 4 sides now, as you can see, and the next little job to do is to trim it all up. Now the reason I've left it till this point is because I don't want too much of the foil overlapping onto this gable end, because when I come to glue my copings on, I actually want something to glue to besides the foil, because it just won't work. So all I'm going to do now is, I've got this little piece of timber here, and I'm going to use my micro scissors, and I'm just going to cut up and trim all this up. Let's go to the top here. I'm just going to go around. It isn't too crucial that you get it absolutely dead level, because it's just going to be rolled over onto the top there. Like so. And then what I'm going to do is, as we go along, cut the bottom, let's just roll that edge over. Excuse me. All the way through like that. Then just crease it down. I'm not even going to glue it, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Now that has just given me that little lip over, so when we actually come to put the copings on that end, it's going to sit over the lead flashing, overhang the lead flashing as well on the roof, and it's all going to look right. And also, because there's not much foil, I can actually glue that now with PVA and make a nice job of it. So I'm going to carry on now and get this all trimmed up, and I'll be back when I get it all finished. I've got all the lead flashing all trimmed up and all made look nice, neat and tidy, which I'm quite happy about. And now I'm going to give it a coat of paint. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to use a standard Vallejo grey primer, and then I'm just going to give it, wherever it's gone, London grey. That is what I'm going to be using. And I've lost it. No, I'm not. I'm just going to be using some London grey on it. I'm going to give that all a coat right the way through. So I will get that done, and then I'll come back when I've given that all a coat of paint. Now I've given the whole of the lead a coat of the grey. I've also given it a quick wash. It won't be the last wash it will get. It will have another one when I do the wash on the roof. I shall wash it all together. Also, I probably will go across and do a little bit of tiny bit of dry brushing when it's all nice and dry, just with a lighter grey, just to pick out, because the lead is sort of like, you've got lights and darks in the lead. But the front and the back is all done, and that is where I'm going to leave it until we start the washes on the roof. Now the next step is to actually get these copings on. Now unfortunately we come to the end of the video. The simple reason is because I've decided to go with a soldier course along these edges. I feel it will look better, and I haven't got any cast, so I need over the next couple of days to get them cast up so I can actually get started on these gable ends. So that will all be in the next video. And what else will be in the next video? The guttering, and it's just now getting the door frames in, because we're slowly coming to the end of this. Hopefully by the time I get halfway through the next video, I will have the actual base cut. I've got the wood, I've just got to get it cut so we can actually get this positioned on and start working out a few of the other bits and pieces. So with that, all I can say is thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we will see you on the next one.